So I'm sure you guys have been seeing the ESPN top 100 MLB players of all time list going around all social media, because honestly, it might be one of the worst lists that we've ever seen. And listen, I'm not someone who necessarily hates ESPN, like that's what helped me fall in love with sports, but ESPN's game has definitely dropped the last few years, and especially on the baseball side, it's not as strong as it once was. And I feel like this list is a really good way to kind of show how out of touch right now ESPN is with just the world of baseball. So I'm gonna go ahead and react to this top 100 players list. Of course, I want to know your guys' reactions down in the comment section below. Which ranking do you think is the most egregious? And also drop a like on this video if you want to see me do my own top 100 players of all time list, because we still got no baseball. There's a really good chance that I will do this. So drop a like, let me know if you want to see that kind of content. Let's go take a look at this article. Here we go. Top 100 players of all time. Who's the greatest baseball player ever? Who's in the top 5, the top 10, the top 50? As long as fans come together at the ballpark and new stars continue to revolutionize the game, the debate over how to rank the best Major League Baseball players in history will never end. With no truly objective way to compare players from different eras or even from different teams or at different positions, there's no right answer. Still, as we await the end of the MLB lockout, we decide to give it a go with our list of the top 100 players of all time. Methodology: based on career WAR, Hall of Fame status, peak performance, and overall contributions to the game, we selected an initial pool of more than 200 players, blah, blah, including Negro League. That's pretty cool. Hard to rank, but cool. From there, we asked dozens of ESPN editors and writers to contribute to a balloting system that pits players from the list against each other in a head-to-head voting. So here's the question they posed. Based on a combination of career value and peak performance, which player would you rank higher? Okay, that's the question they asked. That's all I need to know, because, well, you'll see. So it's a combination of career value plus peak performance. Who's ranked higher? Keep that in mind when we're looking at this, because that's the question that they were asked. So that's what we have to rank these guys on. Let's take a look. Number 100, Barry Larkin. Sure, whatever. Probably right to put him in like the top 100 fringe. Again, like you're getting down here. I just want to see that guys that deserve to be here are included. Sometimes it can definitely be hard to figure out where guys who aren't like the top 25 will go. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on these, but just kind of looking at individuals, like who's ranked higher than the other. Phil Niekro, yeah, maybe. Jim Thome, okay. Adrian Beltre. I love that Beltre's here. I don't know if I'm putting Jim Thome behind Adrian Beltre, honestly. I also don't know if they should both be this low, but we'll continue on. Charlie Gehringer, old school second baseman. It's hard to rank guys like pre-modern era and obviously modern era baseball just because the game is so vastly different. I mean, you have guys that are now playing baseball for a living, as opposed to Charlie Gehringer, who probably guys on his own team were like carpenters and plumbers and cobblers. I don't know. It was the 1920s. I really actually don't know what people were doing then. But basically the idea is that baseball has evolved massively. So the greats are still great, but the greater sum of Major League Baseball players is a lot lower than obviously it is now. I mean, I don't think I need to explain that to you guys. You know that. Duke Snider, yep, definitely one of the greats. Bryce Harper made the top 100. Okay, Bryce. Yeah, I don't think I can put him top 100 yet. I think we have to see his full career. I don't think right now, 10 seasons into Bryce Harper's career, I don't know, top 100, it feels aggressive, but whatever, it's 94. John Smoltz, 93. I'm actually surprised he was this low. I thought he would have been a little higher. Roy Halladay, yeah, I think he's top 100. I don't know about how far away he is from John Smoltz here. That's interesting. Ryan Sandberg, of course, Hall of Famer. Pudge Rodriguez gets in at 90. I honestly probably could have seen Pudge in like that 75. It's the range, 75 to 100. Shoeless Joe Jackson, shout to him. Should be a Hall of Famer. He was a great, obviously one of the old school guys though, so hard to judge because he did play like in the 1900s. Willie Stargell, love to see Willie Stargell. Carlton Fisk, Roberto Alomar. I don't know if I put Roberto Alomar ahead of Carlton Fisk. I don't know if I put him ahead of Willie Stargell. Man, Roberto Alomar's getting some love on here. I don't know if I really agree with that one. Jim Palmer, Paul Molitor, okay. Roy Campanella, one of the vastly underrated players in the game. He's tough though, because yes, he played in the Negro Leagues for all those years, and then he came to the Dodgers and won what, like 3 MVPs. He was pretty unbelievably talented. Eddie Collins, it's just like he played in the 1900s. Mike Piazza, love to see it. They put him ahead of Pudge. That's fair. Is he gonna be the top rated catcher? No. Johnny Bench. I'm interested to see where he falls though in terms of greatest catchers of all time. Put him ahead of Campanella. I love that though. Right now he is the highest ranked catcher. Robin Yount, Hank Greenberg, great player. Chipper Jones, yep, Chipper Jones should definitely be a good chunk, I think, ahead of a lot of these guys. Chipper's an absolute stud. Vlad Guerrero, right outside the top 75. Cap Anson, yeah, like here's where I have the biggest issue is that I know Cap Anson dominated the 1800s. We're talking about a guy from the 1800s, by the way. And I think, of course, those guys deserve to be given credit. But he played in the 1800s. 1897 was the last year he played. 1871 was the first year he played. Let's just take a trip down memory lane and see what's going on in America during these times. 1879, the inventor Thomas Edison was finally able to produce a reliable, long-lasting electric light bulb. That's after Cap Anson started playing. We had a light bulb. That's crazy. It's dark. So the president of the United States was Ulysses S. Grant, who is that the guy who like, he was a fatter fella. The Ku Klux Klan Act was signed in this time. The first Major League Baseball game was played, so I guess that's probably why he's on here, because he was part of like the first days of Major League Baseball. I get he's a great, again, just this is for comedy purposes. The first ever photographs of Yellowstone National Park were taken. That's crazy. The Chinese massacre. Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall was still around. Unbelievable. This was Reconstruction. Reconstruction was going on. The Gilded Age. Winston Churchill was born in 1871. Like, this is so long ago. So it's really, really hard to rank guys like this. Here's my whole point. I don't care that they ranked them, but there is just simply no world, honestly, especially if you are ranking modern players, that Cap Anson is a top 100 player of all time. It's not physically possible. That's why you shouldn't be ranking guys who literally played in the 1800s versus guys who played now. Rod Carew, 75. Okay, I love Rod Carew. I love some respect for him. He didn't do the power stuff, but he's an incredible player. Juan Marichal, 74. Really? Juan Marichal ahead of a guy like John Smoltz or even Jim Palmer. Kind of surprising, but I mean, Juan Marichal is really good, so I'm cool with it, but I'm surprised. Willie McCovey, 73. Okay. 72, Justin Verlander. Yeah, Justin Verlander, I think, could definitely be a top 100 player of all time. Al Kaline, 71. Harmon Killebrew. This is gonna be a weird hill for me to die on, but I think Harmon Killebrew is a criminally underrated player in the history of baseball. Here's why. Now, I don't know if you guys see this, but the first, like, 6 years of his career, Harmon Killebrew played a total of 113 games. It doesn't really count. From 1959 until 1970, Harmon Killebrew hit 476 home runs, an OPS at 929, 40 homers and 100 RBIs a year, playing in the 60s and 70s. That to me is pretty incredible. That to me is pretty insane. The pitching mound didn't get lowered until 1968. Harmon Killebrew was doing this in what is arguably one of the toughest times to hit in Major League Baseball history, because pitchers were just so dominant. He's a beast. I think Harmon Killebrew deserves more love. Maybe the longevity of his career, that's probably why, but if you're talking about peak performance, this dude's one of the best of all time. I think he deserves more love. Okay, Ozzie Smith, 69. There's just, guys, I get it. Ozzie Smith was different. He was a different player. His glove is unbelievable, but there is no world where Ozzie Smith's a better player than Harmon Killebrew or Al Kaline or Justin Verlander or Willie McCovey or any of the, even Rod Carew. Rod Carew. I mean, this, God, listen, I get it. Ozzie Smith, shortstop, the position's changed over time, and his glove was unbelievable. The best defensive shortstop of all time. I don't think that's a debate right now. The Wizard, of course, but offense is still important, and Ozzie Smith just didn't hit. Man, I don't like saying this because I love Ozzie Smith, but I think he's the most overrated player of all time, possibly. That's crazy to have Ozzie Smith at 69. Nuts. Manny Ramirez. Yep, I think Manny's a top 100 player offensively. Sick. Don't care about the steroids, and you're gonna learn that about me. Don't care about the roids. Brooks Robinson, 67. Man, you're really gonna separate Brooks Robinson and Ozzie Smith by only 2? Brooks Robinson's such a better hitter than Ozzie Smith, and defensively, he locked it down at third base. Okay, whatever. And then you're only gonna separate Cal Ripken Jr. and Ozzie Smith by 3! By 3, Cal Ripken and Ozzie Smith. That's asinine to me. Cal Ripken's like arguably the best shortstop of all time. That's so crazy that he's at 66. Why is he so low? Max Scherzer, 65. Yeah, I love Mad Max. I think he's probably more in that Verlander range. Eddie Matthews, 64. Stud, we know it. David Ortiz, 63. No, you can't just have a DH guy this high. David Ortiz, top 100? Sure. 63 ahead of Eddie Matthews, ahead of Mike Piazza, ahead of Chipper? No. What are we doing here? I love Big Papi, he's just not 63. Mel Ott, 62. Yeah, I'll give it to him. He had 500 homers in the 20s and 30s and 40s. That's cool. Carl Yastrzemski, 61. Whitey Ford, 60. Why is Whitey Ford ahead of a guy like Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander or John Smoltz or Juan Marichal? I feel like Whitey Ford kind of just, people have a rose-colored glasses thing with him. He was a stud, he's a Hall of Famer, but 60? I don't know about that. Miggy, 59. Yep, I love Miggy. I think Miggy has a debate to be top 50. Steve Carlton, disgusting, really, really good. Criminally underrated pitcher. Love that he's getting respect. Pete Alexander. Is this Grover? Yeah, this is Grover Alexander. Why are they putting him as Pete? Everyone knows him as Grover Cleveland Alexander. Yeah, no. Sure, you pitched 5,000 innings, that's something. Dave Winfield, 56. I don't think he's better than Vlad Guerrero. I'm gonna say it. I don't think Dave Winfield's better than Vlad Guerrero. He's a stud, but I don't know if he's better than Vlad. 55, Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Sure, Lefty Grove. Okay. Oscar Charleston. This is a guy that I've learned about more recently, a Negro League player. I didn't know much about him, but apparently he was an absolute stud. Cool. I don't think I would be including Negro League players in my ranking just because I don't have the knowledge of them and I don't know how to compare them to modern day players, but clearly this guy was one of the best Negro League players to play of all time. Clayton Kershaw, 52. Yep, if we're talking about modern day pitchers, he's the best without a doubt. 51, Ernie Banks. Can't believe he's left outside the top 50. That is heinous. And that's also where we end this part before we get into the top 50. Ernie Banks outside the top 50 is just disgusting. Kershaw at the top 50 might be disgusting. I honestly can't believe that David Ortiz is here, and I can't believe Cal Ripken Jr. is not in the top top 50. That's crazy to me that Cal Ripken Jr. is not in the top 50. That's nuts. That might be one of the worst rankings of this entire list. Let's look at 50 through 26. I'm sure this is where I'm gonna really start to get mad. I saw some of the rankings already. They got me mad. Bob Feller, sure. I really don't know though if he's better than Clayton Kershaw. I really don't. Frank Thomas, cool with that. I think Frank Thomas deserves top 50, one of the great hitters of all time. Knapp, don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it LeJoey? Yeah, I know he had a team named after him. Again, this is like the modern versus pre-modern stuff. Whatever, I'm not gonna get crazy about that. Warren Spahn, great pitcher of all time for sure. Ichiro, top 50, I'm cool with it. I don't know if he's better though than Cal Ripken. Don't know if he's better than Chipper Jones. I love Ichiro. I think cultural impact, he's had one of the coolest careers of all time. Top 50, I'm okay with him at 46, it's fine. Wade Boggs, 45. Man, I know Wade Boggs is great, but I just tend to put Chipper Jones ahead of him. Man, look at Chipper Jones's career. Chipper Jones is just, I think he's just better than Wade Boggs. I don't know, I stand by that. I don't know if I put Wade at 45. Tony Gwynn, 44, love Tony Gwynn, good, glad he gets respect. I know he doesn't have like the cool power numbers, but the fact that this dude struck out like 20 times a year is just unreal. George Brett, 43, okay, sure, he was really good. Nolan Ryan, 42, actually surprised Nolan Ryan wasn't higher. And this is kind of almost a fair take on Nolan Ryan. Satchel Paige, 41, because of course you're including the Negro League stuff, so yeah, that makes sense. He was an absolute stud. Jimmy Fox, 40, beast, awesome, unbelievably good, underrated. Yogi Berra, 39. I think play-wise, was he better than Mike Piazza? No. Do I think career-wise was he better than Mike Piazza? Probably. He had all the World Series with the Yankees, but also like it was the 40s. Yogi's one of the greats. I would have liked to seen him and Piazza been ranked similarly. That's my one gripe. And to be fair, their B-Wars are way more similar than I actually would have thought. So I think that's fair. Jackie Robinson, 38. Yeah, I think this is a super good ranking for Jackie Robinson. He obviously, his play was unbelievable, but his impact was leaps and bounds over his play. Still unbelievably good player. Joe Morgan made the top 37. Okay, Joe Morgan, yeah. Probably would have put Joe a little bit higher. I know he played second base and he got on base. He was really, really good. Maybe I'm underrating Joe Morgan. Maybe I am. Maybe he's closer to the top 50 in my eyes. Tris Speaker, whatever, it's Tris Speaker. Josh Gibson, we all know about him. Basically, probably would have been the greatest player of all time if he actually got to play in the majors. Just so incredibly talented. Pete Rose, 34, the hit king, of course. Say what you want about him as a person, as a, individual, not great. Player, the dude could play ball, 100%. I think he's fairly rated, maybe a little high if we're nitpicking. Bob Gibson, 33. I thought Bob Gibson would get top 25. I really did. I thought him and Koufax would probably get top 25 as debatably the two most dominant pitchers during this era. I know Sandy Koufax didn't play long enough, so maybe that's why he gets the 30s, but Bob Gibson, I feel like should be a top 25 player of all time. Pitching wise, didn't get 300 wins, but who cares? He was so good. He was so sick. They changed the mound because of Bob Gibson. I mean, you want to talk about peak performance with Bob Gibson if you want to really talk about something. Remember how I mentioned they changed the mound height? Literally after Bob Gibson put up the best season in Major League Baseball history with a 1.12 ERA, a whip at .853, a FIP at 1.77. I mean, the greatest pitching season probably of all time. I think this is a bad ranking. I think he should be higher. Mariano Rivera, 31. Like, hear me out. Mariano Rivera, best closer of all time. It's not even close. That being said, he's just not better than Sandy Koufax or Bob Gibson in the history of baseball. Just isn't. He was a closer. Unbelievably good. Maybe Sandy Koufax, no shot Bob Gibson. No shot. I don't have a problem with his ranking. 31, maybe a little high, but he's not better than Bob Gibson. That's my gripe. Here we go with the nonsense. Here's a top 10 player in baseball history. Albert Pujols being ranked at 30. You want to put him top 20 even. I think that's the lowest I'll allow him to be. 30? Albert Pujols, 30? Are you kidding me? The guy's gonna finish with 700 homers. He had a stretch where he was by and large the best player of all time. I don't understand. I know the second half of his career has not been great, but peak performance, overall career, he's one of the best. Johnny Bench, best catcher of all time. Not better than Pujols in the grand scheme of things, but I agree with this here. Here's what we're gonna get crazy, guys. Derek Jeter. I think Derek Jeter, honestly, is a top 30, 35 player of all time. I don't hate the spot that he's at. What I hate is that he's ahead of Albert Pujols. Listen, nothing was really brought up about winning. Derek Jeter's greatness gets brought to another level because of his success, because of the championships. I think Derek Jeter is one of the greats. I know defensively, overrated. He wasn't that great, didn't need to do the jump throws. I love the memes, but Derek Jeter is one of the greatest players of all time. Derek Jeter's a guy who, even though I hate the Yankees, I can appreciate how good he was because he really was one of the best shortstops of all time. Defensively, overrated, but at the plate, he was an absolute stud. I mean, 310, 377, 440, 260 homers, 3,400 hits. You can't deny that he is an absolute stud. So please miss me with the Derek Jeter shouldn't even be top 50. I think he's a top 30 player of all time. I don't hate 28. I just don't think he should be ahead of Pujols. That's absolutely insane. I don't know if he should be ahead of Chipper Jones. I don't know if he should be ahead of Vlad Guerrero, but like Jeter's a stud, no doubt. Roberto Clemente, 27. Roberto's great. Again, Pujols, better in my eyes. A-Rod, 26. Yeah, no. Say what you want about steroids. I understand, but A-Rod is a top 5 player, arguably all time. Top 10 at the absolute worst. 26. This is like a hip piece because he's like, what, doing stuff with Fox Sports now. He's not doing the ESPN broadcast. This is insane that he's at 26. Insane that him and Pujols are in the same sentence and it's not in the top 10 or top 15. It's in the top, from 26 to 30? Are we losing our mind, ESPN? What are we doing here? God, this is bad. This is really where it starts to get ridiculous because you're talking about some of the greatest players to ever do it and you're just massively underrating them. Let's look at the top 25 now. 25, Christy Mathewson. Next, won't get behind that. Not better than those guys. Not better than Bob Gibson. Can't do it. The gentleman's hurler. I understand it was a different time, but it was a different time as well. Like, all his numbers are juiced because he pitched 12 innings a game or whatever the hell he did. Like, no, you can recognize him as being one of the greats, but this is why you can't rank modern players and pre-modern guys. You can't rank dead ball versus the live ball era because a guy like Christy Mathewson then makes a guy like A-Rod or Albert Pujols or even Bob Gibson further down. It's just dumb. Randy Johnson, 24. Yep, the big unit, I think, is one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I honestly think this is a fair rating. I could have put him top 20. Ricky Henderson, 23. Ricky is just one of the greatest players of all time. Glad he's in the top 25 here. This is a guy I feel like people sometimes don't talk about as just being so damn good. Tom Seaver, 22. Love that, of course, as a Mets fan. Again, very much deserving. Cy Young, 21. Whatever. I'm really not going to get into this. The dude also lost 300 friggin' games. The cool thing is he threw 7,000 innings. It was baseball in the 1900s. Whatever. Rogers Hornsby, he's really, really good. He transcends, you know, the time period, kind of like a guy like Babe Ruth, who you're going to see here. He transcends the time period. He hit 300 homers. Didn't get 3,000 hits, but who cares because he was on base basically half the time and he hit for power relative to the time. One of the best players. I can be with Rogers Hornsby here. Frank Robinson, 19. Love that. Criminally underrated typically. Love that he's in the top 20 here because Frank Robinson, look at his career, won MVP in both leagues, almost 600 homers, almost 3,000 hits. Like, he gets left off of these lists because he didn't hit those big milestones of the 600 homer, 3,000 hit thing, but this guy is just an absolute beast. Love that Frank Robinson gets love. Mike Schmidt, 18. Mike Schmidt also criminally underrated. Definitely the best third baseman of all time. Mike Schmidt was sick. So sick. Roger Clemens, 17. I think you could make an argument he could be a little higher, but I don't know. And if you want to penalize like A-Rod clearly for steroids, Randy Johnson has to be ahead of Roger Clemens. Joe DiMaggio, 16. I'm cool with Joe DiMaggio being there. You know, I love Mike Trout. I think Mike Trout will go down as one of the 5 greatest players of all time. Putting him at 15 right now, though, might be a little projecting. I think Mike Trout will be one of the greatest. If he finishes at 15 when his career is said and done, something went catastrophically wrong. But I guess this is where I defer from ESPN, is that I can't rank a guy who's played like 11 years right now and say like, oh, well, if his career ended today, he's top 15 all time. He's like probably top 25. But again, nitpicking, Mike Trout, though, will be one of the greatest players of all time when it's all said and done. Call me crazy. Greg Maddux at number 14 feels high. Top 25, sure. Top 20, I think on the fringe. I really do think 14th is high. He was a stud, though. He was a beast. I get it. He was awesome. I don't know about 14. Feels a little high to me. I think I lean towards hitters more, though, so that's probably why. Ken Griffey Jr., 13. Horrible. Bad. Top 10 player, no doubt. You could make arguments for maybe even top 5 all time. Top 10, though, that's where it ends. He is top 10 no matter what. 13 is just, again, what are you looking for? What is your criteria? I don't understand it. 12, Honus Wagner, sure. Again, played when there was no electricity, but the Flying Dutchman, I guess, was his nickname. I didn't know that. Yeah, whatever. I'm fine. I don't care. Pedro, number 11, which I guess is going to put him as the highest ranked modern day pitcher of all time. That's fair. I think the ranking of Pedro, Greg Maddux, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, all those guys are kind of grouped together for modern day best pitchers. I honestly probably go Randy Johnson ahead of Pedro and Pedro number 2. So this is fine. It's debatable. I think this is okay. I'm not going to go crazy. Is he the 11th best player in baseball history, though? That's kind of where I defer. I don't know if I would rank him this high. Number 10, Stan the Man Musial. At first glance, thought this was a little aggressive. I still stand by it. He was awesome. He was a beast. He is one of the best players of all time. Top 15, top 20, no doubt. I'd probably be putting Ken Griffey Jr. ahead of him. This feels like this is a big war thing right here. And the 3,600 hits. He did it also during a time when pitching was dominant. So, you know what? I'll give him credit. I think he's top 15. I don't know about top 10. Walter Johnson, there's just 0% chance I'm putting in my top 10. Again, this is the dead ball versus modern ball. His stuff does, you know, kind of live on past the old age of baseball because he was so sick. I just can't put him in my top 10. I can't do it, especially with the guys that we've seen recently. You're putting Walter Johnson in the top 10, then yeah, sure, put Mike Trout. Barry Bonds, number 8. Now, I'm not ready to have this debate with you guys in the comment section below, but to me, Barry Bonds is the greatest player to ever play. Whether or not you stand on the steroids or bad or good side, I think to put Barry Bonds at 8, especially based on peak performance plus overall career, is asinine. Overall career, most home runs of all time. He only didn't get 3,000 hits because he walked 2,500 times, which is the most in history. He has an 100 162 B WAR. I mean, there's no reason that Barry Bonds isn't at the absolute worst top 3, maybe even top 5, but 8, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. People were not voting the way that they should have. This is a bad miss, which is crazy to say for a guy who's considered to be the 8th greatest of all time, but Barry Bonds is simply just better than Mickey Mantle. It's not close. Again, Mickey Mantle's spot is good. Mickey Mantle at 7 might even be harsh, according to some people, but Barry Bonds is just leaps and bounds better. He is the greatest player to ever play, in my opinion, and even if you're against him, you still can appreciate what he did, steroids or not. 8 is ridiculous. Lou Gehrig 6, Lou Gehrig really, really good. I don't know if I put Mickey Mantle behind Lou Gehrig, especially because Mickey Mantle played center field and you're talking about first base. Lou Gehrig was so sick though. He was unbelievably good. He's a top 10 player, I think. I can get behind that. Ted Williams, number 5, cool with that. I was actually wondering where Ted Williams would fall. Number 5 actually feels like kind of a perfect spot. Ty Cobb 4, again, this is where I defer. I wouldn't be putting Ty Cobb at 4. Top 10, sure, I can get behind that. Borderline top 10 guy, I think. Obviously different eras. He was a stud. He was the best player around this time, no doubt. I don't know about 4 though. I think that's a little high. Again, Barry Bonds, he exists. 3, Hank Aaron. Yep, when I give you my top 3 is this: Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. So I'm sure, and Babe Ruth's gonna be number 4. So I'm sure that this is gonna end up what it is. Hank Aaron 3, Willie Mays 2. Yep, agree with this. And Babe Ruth 1. Honestly, I know like Babe Ruth, he played against plumbers. He couldn't hit. He wouldn't be able to hit JT Brubaker. I love saying that. You gotta respect it. He was still unbelievable. Like just looking at his baseball reference, I know again, played against plumbers, but he was just doing some crazy stuff. Like Babe Ruth, I mean, just look at these years. He was putting up 1,300 OPS seasons. He finished with a career 1164 OPS, 700 home runs in 22 seasons. By the way, the first 4 of which he didn't hit, and the last season he didn't. So he really hit about 714 homers in what, 17 seasons. He only won the MVP once because they had like that weird rule, right, about you could only win the MVP once, and it only started like later in his career as well, so he missed a lot of it. Babe Ruth was a stud. I'm cool with him being the greatest player of all time. That one doesn't bother me. I might disagree, but that one is just nitpicking at this point. The top 3 they got right, and you can make a debate that the top 5 is right outside of Barry Bonds. The top 10 is not absolutely asinine, but where it starts to get crazy is just kind of around here. Ken Griffey not being included higher. Mike Trout being as high as he is despite, you know, having a shorter career thus far. I think leaving out a guy like A-Rod. I think having Cal Ripken be so low. He was in the 60s? I mean, like 66 for Cal Ripken's nuts, especially if you're gonna put Jeter. What, 28 they put him? So I definitely have some beef with this list. I think there's some problems. I want to go ahead and take a look at the snubs because they do have something for the snubs. And who are the guys that they feel like they snubbed? Okay, now so for Hall of Fame first baseman Jeff Bagwell, yeah, I could have seen him maybe at the back end of top 100, but I didn't miss him honestly for this list. Overlooked aces: Fergie Jenkins, George Sisler, no. Mike Mussina, yeah, I don't even think of either of those guys top 100. Mookie Betts, yeah, you can make a debate that if Bryce Harper's on here, Mookie Betts deserves to be on there. So that's fair. And Andrew Jones, who's not a Hall of Famer, nah, I don't think Andrew Jones is a top 100 guy. Honestly, I don't. There were some guys though that I feel like they might have left out that deserved more love and more credit. Surprised Tom Glavine didn't make it, especially when John Smoltz did. That one surprised me quite a bit. Kurt Schilling, I know he's very polarizing. As a person, not great. As a pitcher, was great. So I guess maybe that's why they didn't include him on here. I think he's debatably a top 100 pitcher of all time for sure. No McGuire, no Sosa, but you included Manny Ramirez. That's interesting that no McGuire or Sosa was mentioned. Call me crazy. I'm honestly surprised that there was no Gary Carter mentioned, no Carlos Beltran mentioned. Those to me seem like guys that definitely could have made this list, especially given the back end of what the list looked like. A guy like Eddie Murray even could have made the list debatably. Like overall, this list wasn't great. I think there are some glaring issues with it. I've expressed it in this very long reaction video. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comment section below of this ESPN Top 100, as well as do you want to see me drop my own? I will. I'll do a crazy video like that, but I need to see likes on this one. So click the like button if you want to see that. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you all off season long. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting. You know the drill from here on out. If you like prospect videos, this is me reacting to Keith Wall's Top 100 prospects that dropped a few days ago, as well as this is one of my rankings for the first base prospects in minor league baseball. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye.